Yeah, I think we can start. It's 2 minutes over the hour, right? So let's go ahead. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Razvan Altan. I am the Senior Manager for Communications and Marketing at ZDHC. And today, together with my colleagues, I'll introduce them in a minute. We are together here for the July forum call. And I have, before we go into the topic, which is about the ZDHC Roadmap to Zero program and the digitalization of this program, I have a couple of calls to actions to remind you about, and these are listed here. First of all, we have the signatory review for the input materials, and the content will be added to the digitalized suppliers roadmap to zero. You'll find out more about it in this discussion. And the deadline is 21st of August, as you can see there. And then we have a focus group on air emissions, the version V2.0, with a deadline on the 7th of September. Then the fiber fragmentation together with TMC, and the deadline is on the 15th of August for sending your info. And also for all signatories, it's important, and we are hoping for your input here. The board elections were extended until the 8th of August. All this information, you can find it in your relevant signatory environment. You can reach it by scanning this QR code or just by going on the regular link that you are using. The last one, but not important, not less the least important. Probably some of you who were in Amsterdam last month, you found out that we launched our ZDHC community forum. We want it to be as engaging as possible, so we would like you to take this opportunity to scan the QR code or go to the community forum on our website, and also you can use the ZD AI tool to get to it and to ask your questions. Now, with this introduction, I'm also introducing the panelists today, and these are Francesco, our Chief Program Officer, Prasad, our Chief Technical and Education Officer, and Helen, part of the communications team. She's the editorial manager. What we are going to discuss about today is the Roadmap to Zero program. You know it. But what happened over the past weeks, we launched the digitalized version of it. We know that the PDF version was quite cumbersome for some of you, and you didn't know where to start, where to go, what to do. Now, with this new format, everything is digitalized. You know exactly what to do, where you are, and what are the steps you need to take in order to advance in the Roadmap to Zero program. Without further ado, we can start the discussion. So I will invite Prasad to tell us what is the DHC Roadmap to Zero and why did we digitalize it? Why did we need to digitalize it? Except the fact that we are in millennium 3, so we need it to be digitalized.
Yeah, so the first part is what is the ZDHC Roadmap to Zero program? So we are all aware that ZDHC RTZ program is all about sustainable chemical management. And when we talk about sustainable chemical management, we are looking typically at a manufacturing facility where there is a use and discharge of chemicals. And the program also went a little bit deeper into the supply chain, into the fiber manufacturing part as well. And we also came out with certain fibers guidelines for the MMCF, recycled polyester, etc. So the RTZ program is basically all about how suppliers are managing their input, their process, and their outputs, because a lot of chemicals come in, materials come in as inputs. These have to be free of the restricted substances or hazardous substances, because ZDHC is all about a holistic approach to zero discharge of hazardous chemicals. So we start with input management. We try to control these hazardous substances from coming into the supply chain or into the facility. Then we manage as a process how we apply, how we store, how we handle these chemicals. And finally, these chemicals go out into the output areas of the product, the air, the wastewater, and the sludge. So this, in short, is the Roadmap to Zero program. How you manage chemicals, how you manage the and monitor the impact of these chemicals in the outputs, and how you ensure proper worker safety as well as product safety through this program.
Thank you, Prasad. And now I will switch to Helen, asking her why did ZDHC decide to move to the digitalization and moving away from the PDF, which we know it's the firmer century type of the document. And I forgot to mention, if everyone has any questions as the discussion goes ahead, please ask them away by putting the question in the Q&A or in the comments window. Thank you. Helen?
So the reason we moved away from PDFs to the digitalized version is we had many PDF documents that were sitting separately, often overlapping with information within them, and it could prove a bit cumbersome to move between the various different documents. So we've created the digitalized platform to have that journey of the easy user experience, and to give the flow, like Prasad said, of input, process, output. There will be further features that will come in the future, which will allow PDF downloads. So we haven't lost PDFs totally. It's just a different way of presenting the information in a more user-friendly format.
And you can see that by going online and seeing it, how it looks like. And then I will move back to Prasad, asking him who is supposed to use this digitalized version? Who is it for?
So basically, we have started with the supplier roadmap to zero digitalized version. So because suppliers are central and one of the most important implementation stakeholders of our ZDHC roadmap to zero program. So when we go to our website and we go to this digitalized part, you will see the supplier RTZ there, but you will also see some other roadmap to zero tabs which are currently not highlighted. So on similar lines, we will also digitalize the formulator roadmap to zero program, and we will also digitalize the brands roadmap to zero program. But right now, it is the supplier roadmap to zero program which is digitalized. This does not mean that other stakeholders cannot access it or cannot check it out. All stakeholders can check it out because this basically is everything about how to implement the Roadmap to Zero program.
Thank you. So our stakeholders, our viewers, our listeners can go there and see that the only active module is the supplier's roadmap to zero. But the other two will have a similar engagement, a similar user experience.
Yeah,
But it's coming.
it's
And
coming because we want to distinguish very clearly the user journeys for these three important stakeholders.
And I will ask then Francesco, what are the benefits for the stakeholders by using this digitalized version?
Well, interesting that this question comes from you, who is relatively fresh to ZDHC, and I'm sure you have experienced how difficult it might be, the language we use, the glossary we use, the terminology, and how difficult it might be to find out all this information. So I'm thinking of the audience now. There are people listening today that are with ZDC or within the environment for many years, but there are also someone that's new. And if any one of you have experienced onboarding a new team member and trying to explain them what ZDHC is, where to find information, how ZDHC works, etc., etc. I'm sure you have gone through that experience that is not as simple as obvious to find what you're looking for and to understand what you should be doing. So if you are a brand and you wanted to onboard a supplier or a new supplier who is not aware of ZDC, I'm sure you have experienced the same difficulties in explaining how to do it, what the roadmap to zero is, what is applicable to that supplier depending on their profile, etc., etc. And I'm sure that another big benefit will also go to solution providers and formulators who will start to receive less complex and meaningless questions sometimes, just because the supplier will know exactly where to find the information because, like you said, it is quite intuitive, it is quite organized, and it is structured at different level of depth. So when you find your information and you want to go in more depth, then you find the link to go deeper and then deeper and up to the bottom of the most nitty-gritty detail of what you're looking for. So again, because of that, I think that there is a big benefit really to all stakeholders that are part of the community.
Thank you. And for those of you who didn't see it in the chat, Helen just added the link to the program so that you actually see with your own eyes what we are talking about and already see the user experience that we just mentioned. And Prasad, you mentioned already that this digitalized version, the first module, it's only for suppliers while we are working for the other modules. Now, I would ask you, because suppliers are the first one that we focused on, what type of supplier, which suppliers are in scope for these suppliers roadmap to zero module that is live now?
Yeah, so basically, the RTZ program, as I said in the beginning, is really focused on wet processes. So wherever there is a use and discharge of chemicals, so all kinds of fibers, yarns, threads, fabric, dyeing, printing mills, which are there, or the beam house, or the leather tanneries, or the printing facilities, or the coating and lamination facilities. These are included. Garment laundries, washing or dyeing and finishing facilities are also included. But also included in the scope of the supplier RTZ are all the trims and accessories, assemblers as well as processors. All those trims and accessories which are made from textiles and leather. We have also included synthetic footwear facilities, footwear assemblers, or vertically integrated mills or footwear manufacturers. Even down and feather processing units are included. Even cut and sew manufacturers are included in this because there is a responsibility of these cut and sew manufacturers, although they are not using chemicals or discharging chemicals, to engage with their upstream suppliers, or their subcontractors. So this is the general scope of the supplier roadmap to zero. What is not included in this are the fiber manufacturers. So the MMCF and synthetic fiber manufacturers are not included in this scope, or the accessories and trim manufacturers of metal parts are not included. Chemical manufacturers are not included in this. We will have, as I said, a separate formulator roadmap to zero journey for them. Raw wool scouring or polymer production or cotton farming or cattle ranching and all is not included in the scope. So that's the focus is wherever there are production processes where there would be involvement of chemicals.
I see. And what we presented so far was the link between the different stakeholders and their suppliers. But what about the other stakeholders, actually? Francesco, can you give us some details how we are looking at their own
Yeah.
roadmap to zero?
Yeah, and someone may also wonder why did we start from supplier in the first place, right? Well, let me explain that first. Like you know, suppliers are the by far the biggest community in ZDHC. So they are the one who actually make the impact, and we are a purpose-driven organization, so we need to prioritize impact. That is our mission. So we started from supplier to zero because number one, this very reason that the community is the largest, is the one that benefit the most, and it is the one that drives the impact. And number two, because we are in the making, and many of you have been involved and engaged into the consultation, we are in the making of Supplier to Zero 2.0. So having a clear roadmap and also having had the possibility to discuss the content of those placeholders that Prasad just mentioned, and that will be released with a fully digitized version in October. That was essential. So now the suppliers have their own entire end-to-end roadmap to zero, supplier roadmap to zero, and they also will have their their assessment tool, which is supplier to zero 2.0, that again assess all aspects from input to output across the board. Now, like Prasad was mentioning earlier, there will be space soon for the brand roadmap to zero, which is long missing, and also for formulator roadmap to zero. So we foresee these two to be delivered toward the end of the year or the first quarter of next year. But okay, brands already have their own assessment tool, which is the brand to zero, and that's good. Formulator, it is also in the making. So these two other sector will follow shortly and by the first quarter of next year.
And then can I continue then to ask you what if you can make the link between supplier roadmap to zero and supplier to zero and explain for us the difference between supplier to zero, the 1.0 and the 2.0 that we are working on between these two versions?
A lot of questions. So first of all, the supplier roadmap to zero is the journey for a supplier to deliver the roadmap to zero of ZDHC. So there they find all that is relevant for supplier to know. So once you are clear about what are the best practices, what are the requirements, what is that you are supposed to do in order to deliver a fully fledged sustainable chemical management, then you will measure yourself with the supplier to zero, which is the assessment tool. And like you know, the supplier to zero new version offer multiple assessment type, and starting from self-assessment through to a third-party assessment and passing by third-party desktop review, second-party on-site review, and third-party on-site review as well. So offering many different type of assessment where the different level 1, level 2, and level 3 can be achieved at any assessment type. And this is the biggest difference between supplier to zero 1.0 and 2.0. Additionally, sorry, just to remind those of you who don't know, but I suspect that nobody of you don't know. Supplier to zero 1.0, so the current version, only offer currently two options. So you can achieve level 1 through a self-assessment, and you can achieve level 2 through a desktop review. It was meant to offer a level 3 through an on-site assessment, but we felt that there was a big miss that was assessing the level of maturity of implementation. So if a supplier has done a lot of work, no matter if they are self-assessed or desktop reviewed or on-site review, they deserve to have achieved the highest level, or at least the level that corresponds to their effort and to their implementation maturity. So Supplier to Zero 2.0, in fact, will offer all of these options, and it is far more flexible, and it will also be much more friendly to everybody, I strongly believe, and it will reflect the level of achievement, will reflect the effort and the performance that a supplier has actually been able to achieve.
I would like to
And
add, Razwan, to what Francesco said about the flexibility part of Supply to Zero 2.0, because it will also take into account the applicability of the KPIs or the requirements to a particular supplier facility type. So there could be some facilities like, say, a footwear assembler who are not discharging any wastewater. Then all those requirements which are there for the wastewater testing, clear stream, etc., will not be applicable or will not be assessed in the Supply to Zero 2.0. So that is where the flexibility is also introduced in the 2.0.
thank you, Prasad. And just to understand for our listeners, to our viewers, to understand all these leadership programs, how to reach them and how to get involved in them and to reach those levels, this granularity of information in the roadmap to zero are structured in such a way that you can easily see those in focus areas, input, process, output, requirements, chapters, learning. So basically, whatever question you have or where you are and what you need to do are there. You can see them and you can download them. Obviously, this user journey is meant, and the concept and the implementation, which was done by the people that you are seeing here now in this panel, is meant to help you. Now, all these functionalities will be added and will be extended. And I will ask Helen, what other features will be added in the near future to the platform?
So, as mentioned, we will be adding placeholder content. So, at the moment, you will see some areas that are grayed out. That content will be populated by the end of October. We will also, as I mentioned before, be having PDF downloads. So, you'll be able to download specific sections if you just want to download a specific requirement or a chapter, or you can be able to download the whole full content and it will come out in order and you can save that down or print it off or however you prefer. We will be having a glossary. So this will be a specific glossary for the Roadmap to Zero program for specific words within the content that we feel that maybe we need a bit more explanation, especially if you're new to ZDHC. And there will be a feature, you may have seen this on other technologies, but if you hover your mouse over and a little box will come up with the definition, so you won't need to go and find the glossary. They will be there right in front of you when you want to see them. And the performance criteria, which will match up to Supplier to Zero 2.0, will be listed onto the roadmap to zero as well. So you can see the connectivity, as Francesco talked about before, between the roadmap to zero and the supplier to zero. And of course, as we go further into the future, there will be new versions of chapters. As you all know, the wastewater guidelines will be updated in October. So a new version of that chapter will come out. And then you will see a change log and an archive section as well. So you'll be always able to look back at previous versions if you ever need to see, and in the transition period as well. So you've got the two different versions available to you and the changelog detailing exactly what those updates are.
So this digitalizing version and the versioning actually and seeing the differences is the equivalent, the modern equivalent of just comparing two PDFs.
Exactly.
And we know that people are still using or have linked embedded to our PDFs in their different documents or even on their websites and their materials. Now the question would be, for these type of our stakeholders that use those links, how will that work now, since everything is digitalized and on an online environment?
So I would say if you've got the old link, I would just hold fire on changing that, because when we introduce the version in, the link will change slightly. So I would wait until November to make any edits to your documents. If you've got those links, do not worry. The old PDF will open absolutely fine. Nothing changes. The content, as you know, the content in those PDFs is the same content that we digitalized. It's just in a different format. So no information has changed. it's absolutely fine to still have the PDF open in your documents, but in November, the versioning will change and we will send communication out in our newsletters. We'll mention it in our forum calls, and our advisory calls. We will let you know. But then if you put the new link in to the Roadmap to Zero program so that you get constantly the new updates, because if obviously when you're linking to the wastewater guidelines 2.2 as an example, in October, when it changes to the new version on the digitalized platform, you want to link to the new latest updated version rather than the PDF. But we will take you through all that in about November. So don't worry about your old links. They still absolutely work and they're still absolutely fine to link to.
Will there be any other PDF that will PDF guideline that will issue with this new digitalized version in place, like the, I don't know, the wastewater guidelines, for instance?
So the wastewater guidelines has been digitalized, and the new wastewater guidelines in October will be on the digitalized platform. It will become wastewater and sludge guidelines version 2. And it will, so you will be able, as I said, to be able to PDF it, but to PDF it from the digitalized version. As Prasad mentioned, this is just for suppliers and just for certain suppliers in scope. Fiber suppliers are not in scope, so we will be having PDFs until for the moment in the fiber industry. So the MMCF guidelines will be coming out as a PDF, and various other documents, guidance documents may also, if they are not in scope of the supplier's roadmap to zero, you may also see occasional PDFs. But as we work to it in the future, we're building on this. As you can understand, we have to start somewhere. We've started, as Francesco said, with suppliers, and we're building in brands and formulators, roadmap to zeros, and all of those documents will move from PDF. So in the future, in the coming years, all of our documentation will move onto the digitalized platform, but please bear with us, there will be some PDFs in the near future. We've got a
And
couple.
we have a question from Tanya, and then we'll go to Daraj because he asked about, right after Prasad, he asked a question. But since we are still in the wastewater guidelines topic, Helen, maybe you can answer Tanya Hossain, who was asking, there is already a document for wastewater named ZDHC Wastewater Treatment Technology. What will be the new addition in Wastewater Guideline 2.2 due to be launched in October?
Okay, so there's on document for wastewater names, ZDHC. I think this one might be best answered by Prasad because it's talking about what's in addition to
Yeah. So
guidelines.
we have a document which is an outdated document called ZDHC Wastewater Treatment Technology document. We have archived it. It is no longer, it was just a guidance document on different wastewater treatment technologies. And in October 2025, Tanya, we are coming out with the wastewater 3.0, not the 2.2. The 2.2 is already there, and we will have addition of all the MRSL substances and other changes which will be there in the wastewater, which you will come to know when it is published in October 25.
And Prasad, if I still have you, can you answer also Daraj was asking, do they need assessment for chemicals?
So, Dhanraj, I am not able to fully understand the question, but I don't know whether you are asking whether it is aligned with the HIG FEM or I don't know what is the assessment of chemicals, because our assessment, we know the ZDHC program is all about sustainable chemical management, where we are looking at input chemical management through MRSL conformance. We are looking at output management through wastewater. So a lot of things which we will do in the supplier roadmap to zero as well as supplier to zero will help you with what you're doing with FEM for the chemical management module.
Thank you. And I think we have a question, probably Francesco would help with answering that question from Surav, who is asking how suppliers roadmap to zero will transform to suppliers to zero, 2.0, level 1 to 3 certification, and what are the requirements for all these levels?
Oh, this is a big question. What are the requirements for all these levels? So let's say that in Supplier to Zero 1.0, there are many requirements that are not included, not many, but several requirements that are not included in that are included in Supplier to Zero 2.0 and not in 1.0. And some of those have been mentioned. So input material, for instance, is a very important one. Upstream implementation is another very, very important one. And so again, Supplier to Zero 2.0 will have will reflect the assessment point of the supplier roadmap to zero new version. So this one that has been digitalized and that will be released in October in full, which will be completed with all these that you currently see as placeholders. So there are a number, more than 40 overall requirements, and all of those 40 requirements, 43, have performance criteria. So there are thresholds. So if you meet a certain threshold, you will be meeting level 1. If you meet another threshold, you will be meeting level 2, and the top threshold will be meeting level 3. And there are also some exclusion criteria. So you can call them or see them as mandatory requirements that need to be met at the same level, at least in order for you to get the certificate at that level. So, for instance, if you achieve level 3 in input, but only level 1 in process and level 1 in output, your certificate will be for Supplier to Zero level 1, not level 3. So once you have achieved the top level performance in all of the three, say for example, input you have level 2, process you have a level 2, output you have level 2, then you will get a Supplier to Zero level 2 certificate. I hope this answers your question. It is quite a big one. It will take a lot of time to completely answer, but hopefully you have a sense of what that means. And if not, there are a few remaining sessions which everyone is invited to contribute for the consultation that we are currently running. And then we are also scheduling a round of pilots to pilot the self-assessment first and later on in the year also the on-site assessment. So if you're interested, I'm not sure if you are a supplier, a brand, or who exactly, but call in and we can discuss that.
Thank you. And we have a question from Siobhan Chan. She's asking if for the suppliers to zero verifiers, are they required for reapproval for supplier to zero 2.0 if they were approved for 1.0?
Yes, Siobhan, because there are new requirements and that will require a new approval. Supplier to Zero 2.0 is quite different, and it requires a fully understanding of all the performance requirements and ability to measure all of these requirements. So yes, it will require a new approval, completely new for solution providers.
Thank you. So I see
I
probably
would
people
add,
checked the roadmap2zero.com/program. So they checked the roadmap to zero and the supplier roadmap to zero. So they have questions. So you still have time, another 5 to 10 minutes to do that, to ask questions. Sorry, Prasad, you wanted to say something.
yeah, just wanted to add to Siobhan's question that we will also have or we will also publish something called as a field manual for the assessment. So that the Supplier to Zero 2.0 assessors who will be approved will have to use this field manual for the assessment. So it's a very different process that we are looking at, and that is why Francesco said that it will require a new approval because there are a lot of changes from the 1.0 that we are looking at.
Yeah. Also, I should mention that we have got already quite an intense period of consultation with the what we called schema, approved schema, so the Ecotex and the Blue Sign, etc. And you should have received yesterday, or you will receive it today. There will be a number of sessions planned during the month of August for the engagement with all the approved solution provider, where we will be going into the detail and explaining exactly the content of Supplier to Zero 2.0, and also having a conversation about the approval needed and all of that. So look out for the invite. Solution providers engagement is really intense, going to be happening in the month of August.
For more information, you also have the knowledge base. Helen has added the link there in the webinar chat, and I also encourage you to go on community.roadmap20.com and ask all these questions, or use the blue button on the lower right corner of the screen when you go on Roadmap to Zero, and our AI tool ZDHC will help you answer some of the questions. But if you still have questions, we have a couple of more minutes to take advantage of people in ZDHC being in this forum call and being able to answer live. If not, this is it. If the last chance for everyone to ask a question, otherwise we'll wrap it up.
I've just put into the chat as well the link to the community forum, and just to say that your login is your standard ZDHC login to get in there. So any questions you have for us or the community, please go on and share those.
Cool. I think we are good. We don't have any more questions, which means that people got the information to the level of detailing that they were expecting. Otherwise, please reach out to us through the means that we just added on the webinar chat. So with this, we just thank you.
Before
Yes,
closing,
please.
I would like to thank all of those who has engaged in the development of Supplier to Zero 2.0. I think we have got really meaningful conversation there. It helped us a lot developing something that is relevant to all of you and that will serve the need of our community. So I personally really enjoy that exchange of idea and input that we have got. So I encourage everyone really to engage in these processes. When you see a call to action, when you see an invite, and please register and be part of that conversation. I think you will yourself learn a lot from the other, from the same sector. We have also had cross-sectorial engagement, because we had session brands and suppliers together, exchanging their view, etc. So I found it really interesting and valuable. And if you want to experience the same, just join us.
And these are the benefits of being a signatory. You have the power to shape the program. So do get involved. And I will just wrap it up by reminding you about the call to actions that we mentioned at the beginning. We have a signatory review on input materials chapters, the air emissions focus group, the fiber fragmentation TMC with a collaboration opportunity, and the board elections. Please do get involved. Please have your say. Go into your respective signatory environment and check those call to actions and do something about that, because it's in your power. So thank you so much, Francesco. Thank you so much, Prasad. And of course, thank you so much, Helen. I hope you had a good call. Thank you so much. And with this, see you next month.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Cheers.
Bye.